This Sunday warfare prayer will end every battle fighting your destiny. There are moments in a man's life when delay becomes a language, when battles begin to speak louder than your progress, when invisible forces rise to challenge the legitimacy of your destiny. And if you do not answer those battles with fire, they will write stories you never approved. This Sunday is not ordinary. It is a spiritual courtroom, a moment pregnant with verdicts, shifts, and divine interventions. Every long-standing battle, seen or unseen, inherited or invited, must bow to the authority of the one who called you. You are stepping into a warfare moment where altars will break, cycles will shatter, and every power that has vowed you will never rise will learn God's jealousy over your destiny. This is not prayer you whisper, this is a decree you enforce. This Sunday, you are not coming to pray, you are coming to end what has been fighting you. There are moments in life when destiny stops waiting. There are seasons when the heavens lean in close and the earth begins to tremble under the weight of purpose that refuses to delay. Today is such a moment. This is not an ordinary Sunday, and this is not an ordinary prayer. The very atmosphere has been stirred, and the spirit within you knows that something must shift. Too long have you allowed battles to dictate your pace. Too long have you tolerated delays that were never part of God's plan for you. The day has come when your destiny demands an answer, and the spirits that have sought to frustrate your rise will meet a force you cannot withstand. Listen closely, for this is a message that must penetrate your spirit. Every battle you have fought in silence, every struggle you have carried alone, every delay that has attempted to convince you that your breakthrough is far away. It has been a test, and the time of testing is now yielding to the time of conquest. You are no longer in a place of negotiation. The heavens are ready to enforce the decree of your life. The battles that were designed to hold you down, the oppositions that were assigned to slow your pace, the curses that were spoken against your progress, they are not stronger than the one who ordained your existence. Understand this. Destiny does not tolerate hesitation. The moment of your purpose cannot wait while you remain comfortable in indecision. The hour demands authority, decisiveness, and a declaration that you are stepping into what belongs to you. There are forces in the spirit realm that have been standing at the doors of your life, whispering lies, hoping to make you question your worth and your call. They want to convince you that the season of breakthrough is delayed, that the promises in your heart will fade with time. But hear me now, God's timing is precise, and this Sunday is a spiritual signal, a trumpet sounding that your answer must come. You must rise, speak, decree, and enforce the will of heaven over your life. Many have been caught in the trap of passive expectation, waiting for life to happen while ignoring the mandates of their own calling. But destiny does not favor the passive. The hour of divine acceleration is here, and it requires a response that carries spiritual fire. When the Spirit of the Most High begins to stir within you, it is not for idle contemplation, it is for action. Your prayers must no longer be routine. They must be declarations that shake the heavens, that shatter the chains of delay, and that confront the powers that have long opposed your progress. Spirits that have whispered fear, confusion, and stagnation over your life will find no foothold in the presence of someone who refuses to yield. Feel the weight of this moment. Destiny is not patient with doubt. Every second wasted in hesitation is a second where the enemy attempts to rewrite your story. But today, as you rise to pray with purpose, the scales of spiritual justice begin to tilt in your favor. You are stepping into a divine assignment where the prayers of the righteous will begin to manifest visibly in your life. You are not here to pray quietly. You are here to enforce authority. Every delay, every oppression, every manipulative tactic of darkness will meet your voice lifted in decisive command. Your destiny is calling, and it will not wait forever. Now is the time to recognize that the battles you face are not against flesh and blood alone. There is a realm beyond what the eye can see, a spiritual theater where victories and defeats are decided long before they manifest physically. The spirits that have been assigned to challenge your rise will feel the tremor of your declaration. The atmosphere is sensitive to authority, and the voice that carries faith is the voice that will enforce change. You must speak boldly, decree firmly, and operate with the understanding that destiny does not negotiate. It demands alignment with divine authority. Today, let your spirit understand that waiting is over, delay is finished. The hour of response is now. If you have been asking, praying, or hoping, this is the moment where asking becomes commanding, where hoping becomes declaring, and where your presence in the spiritual realm becomes a force that even the enemy cannot ignore. This is the day your destiny requires an answer, and no power, no circumstance, and no past mistake can prevent what God has ordained. You are a vessel of breakthrough, a carrier of acceleration, and the forces that have sought to limit you will be dismantled before your eyes. Rise with understanding, speak with authority, declare with fire. Let every corner of your life resonate with the urgency of this moment. Destiny is calling, and it will not tolerate hesitation. The heavens are leaning in, the angels are waiting, and the powers that oppose you are trembling because the day has arrived where your answer must be given. This is the moment where prayer becomes warfare, declaration becomes conquest, and obedience becomes the vehicle through which the impossible becomes possible. The day destiny demands an answer is here, and the only response that will suffice is a voice lifted in authority, a heart aligned with purpose, and a spirit unshakable in faith. There are altars in the spirit realm that exist for one purpose: stall, to limit, to frustrate your rise. They are invisible to the natural eye, yet their influence is undeniable. These are altars built by fear, rejection, disappointment, and the lies of the enemy. They are altars that whisper failure into your ears, that conspire to keep you beneath the level of your calling. Many have unknowingly served these altars with compromise, with patience in wrong season, with tolerating what God never intended for them to endure. But the time has come to break every invisible altar that has been fighting your lifting, that has been standing between you and the fullness of your destiny. Listen carefully, for this is not a message for the passive or the faint-hearted. Every breakthrough you desire is contingent upon the dismantling of spiritual strongholds that oppose it. There are assignments of stagnation, cycles of limitation, and covenants you never made that are standing as obstacles to your elevation. These altars are strategic. They have been designed to intercept your progress at the point of promotion. The enemy knows that your elevation will trigger influence, authority, and impact. That is why these invisible altars have been strategically positioned. But hear me now. No altar can withstand the fire of obedience, no stronghold can survive the weight of relentless prayer, and no demonic agenda can triumph over the decree of God's purpose for your life. The reason these altars remain invisible is to deceive the mind into thinking the problem is outside when it is often within the spiritual atmosphere surrounding you. There are patterns, recurring struggles, unexplained delays, and consistent oppositions that are not random. They are manifestations of altars erected in your life. These are spiritual power points feeding off compromise, distraction, or weakness. And until they are broken, your lifting will continue to be obstructed. The hour has come to understand that your warfare is not only for physical battles, not only for what you see, but for the invisible altars whose existence has been tolerated for too long. Some altars are generational. They are inherited from families, cultures, or environments that never had the courage to confront them. Others are personal, created by past decisions, wrong associations, or moments of weakness. They can appear in the form of recurring financial failure, relational setbacks, constant sickness, or spiritual oppression. Yet none of these altars has the final say. The authority in your spirit, when exercised with precision, and faith can dismantle them permanently, the time has come for a decisive confrontation where you refuse to negotiate, where you refuse to tolerate, and where you enforce the decree of heaven in the name of destiny. Every invisible altar that has been feeding fear, doubt, and stagnation must be addressed with authority. You cannot pray halfway and expect a breakthrough. You cannot whisper softly and anticipate the collapse of strongholds that have stood for years. Spiritual altars require the weight of your faith, the intensity of your focus, and the determination of your spirit. When you understand that these altars are not accidents but intentional placements by opposing forces, you will rise to meet them with the fierceness that destiny demands. Many have underestimated the power of breaking invisible altars. They have prayed casually, spoken generically, and hoped that circumstances would change on their own. But miracles do not operate in a vacuum. They are birthed through confrontation, through declaration, and through the deliberate dismantling of opposition in the spirit realm. The altars that have been fighting your lifting are real, and the forces behind them are real, but they are not stronger than the authority of God in your life. Every limitation they represent, every barrier they symbolize, every delay they manifest can be nullified in this moment of focused spiritual warfare. The reason breaking these altars is crucial is because elevation is never passive. Promotion, influence, and impact come with resistance. The stronger your lifting, the fiercer the spiritual opposition. These altars are aware of your potential, and they have been activated to prevent you from stepping into the fullness of your assignment. But what the enemy does not know is that the power in your spirit, when released through deliberate prayer, can topple altars that have stood for generations. There is a fire that rises when the heart says, "Enough is enough. I will not serve this delay. I will not tolerate stagnation. I will rise." And that fire has the capacity to dismantle every invisible stronghold aligned against you. Understand this: it is not enough to pray for blessings while altars are feeding your delay. It is not enough to hope for progress while strongholds are in place. The time has come for direct confrontation. Every invisible altar must be named, addressed, and broken. Every stronghold must be opposed with authority. And in this moment of intentional warfare, you will see cycles end, chains break, and doors that were closed begin to open. Your lifting is not just inevitable, it is unavoidable when altars opposing you are dismantled in the power of the Spirit. The battle may seem invisible, but its effects are tangible. It manifests in missed opportunities, unexplained resistance, and repeated frustration. But when the fire of spiritual confrontation is applied, the unseen becomes powerless, and what was hidden becomes exposed. Every strategy of delay, every manipulative tactic of stagnation, every demonic barricade will crumble. Elevation is your inheritance, and no altar can nullify what God has ordained. Your lifting is not a request, it is a requirement, and every invisible altar standing against it will fall under the weight of intentional, focused, and fervent spiritual warfare. There is a pattern that has been running in your family long before you were born, a rhythm of limitation, defeat, and struggle that seems to repeat itself across generations. It is not mere coincidence. It is a spiritual blueprint that the enemy has exploited, a cycle designed to keep the anointing of your lineage dormant and the fullness of your inheritance suppressed. These are ancestral patterns, systems of oppression, covenants, and curses that were never broken, yet their impact resonates in your life today. And the time has come for these patterns to bow, for the old to give way to the new, for divine fire to rise and annihilate every generational chain that has been standing against your destiny. Listen carefully, for this is a message that will awaken your spirit. Ancestral patterns are subtle, often invisible, yet devastatingly effective. They manifest in repeated failures, relational conflicts, financial struggles, sicknesses that seem to follow family lines, and cycles of disappointment that appear impossible to break. Many have unknowingly inherited these patterns, living in a shadow they did not create, bound by covenants they did not ratify, and limited by the decisions of those who lived before them. But understand this: the fire of God does not recognize generational limitation. The power that raised kings, prophets, and warriors rises today in your life to nullify every ancestral chain that seeks to enslave you. Every covenant, every spoken curse, every hidden agreement that has been passed down secretly in your lineage can be overturned in the atmosphere of intentional prayer. When divine fire touches a life, it does not negotiate with oppression, it consumes it. The patterns that have held your family back, the cycles of frustration and defeat, the repeated misfortune that seems to be coded into your DNA, they all must bow to the fire of God. You are not here to live under the weight of generational curses. You are not here to repeat the failures of those who came before you. You are a new order, a new era, a new vessel in which divine elevation flows. And divine fire will not allow any pattern that contradicts your purpose to remain unchallenged. Many have underestimated the authority in their own spirit. They see these ancestral patterns as inevitabilities rather than challenges that must be confronted. They pray for blessing while the chains of the past remain intact. They hope for breakthrough while the spiritual debt of generations is unpaid, and they wonder why progress seems delayed. But progress cannot be fully realized until the fire of God confronts the patterns that have been operating in the background. Divine fire is the great equalizer. It has the power to break cycles, to nullify curses, and to expose every hidden stronghold. The moment you begin to understand the authority in your spirit, the moment you begin to exercise dominion over the spiritual realm, ancestral patterns begin to bend, and chains that once defined your life are shattered. There is a fire that rises when the heart refuses to accept limitation. This fire burns through traditions that oppose destiny. It scorches agreements made in ignorance, and it melts every covenant that was never ratified in heaven. This is a fire that does not just pass over the surface. It penetrates deep into the roots of oppression, targeting the source of every generational problem. When this fire is released in the atmosphere of your life, patterns that have been repeating for decades begin to break. Strongholds that have held your family line captive begin to collapse, and the spirit of your destiny begins to manifest without obstruction. Many have wondered why certain struggles seem to follow them relentlessly, why the same problems appear over and over, and why blessings are delayed. These are not accidents. They are indicators of ancestral patterns still operating. But hear me now, every pattern that is not aligned with divine purpose is vulnerable. It is subject to confrontation, exposed by fire, and broken by decree. You do not need to negotiate with history. You do not need to accept what has been inherited. The bloodline of limitation does not have to define you. Divine fire has come to rewrite the narrative, to rewrite the code, and to bring every family line that will bow under God's authority into alignment with blessing, prosperity, and purpose. There is power in recognition. The moment you identify a generational pattern, the moment you acknowledge it as a spiritual barrier rather than a natural occurrence, you have taken the first step in dismantling it. But recognition alone is not enough. There must be intentional confrontation. There must be authority spoken in prayer. There must be faith exercised without hesitation. The fire of God does not respond to weakness or indecision. It responds to the bold, the determined, and the relentless. Every ancestral chain that has been fighting your elevation will crumble before the weight of consistent, focused spiritual authority. This is not a call to passivity. This is not a moment for excuses or explanations. The hour demands action, decisiveness, and unwavering faith. The ancestral patterns that have held your family back, the curses that have lingered for generations, the limitations that have seemed unbreakable, they are all subject to the fire of divine intervention. And when divine fire moves, history bends, destiny accelerates, and every stronghold that has resisted your rise is brought low, the time has come to rise in authority, to pray with power, to decree with intent, and to see the chains of the past fall irreversibly before your spirit. There is a realm in the spirit where treasures, blessings, and divine appointments are stored before they manifest in the natural. There are realms where the enemy has laid traps to intercept what belongs to you, to steal what has been decreed for your life. Every unfulfilled promise, every delay that has seemed impossible to explain, every opportunity that has vanished unexpectedly is a result of spiritual theft. But here, what was stolen in the spirit is not lost forever. Every seed, every blessing, every assignment that the enemy attempted to hijack is recoverable in the atmosphere of intentional prayer. Authority and persistence. The time has come to recover what was stolen and reclaim the fullness of your inheritance. Too often, people think loss is only physical or visible. They see a missed promotion, a broken relationship, or a financial setback, and assume the battle ends there. But the unseen is far more strategic than the seen. There are forces in the spirit realm that delight in interception, in misdirection, and in substitution. They steal your joy, they steal your peace, they steal your opportunities, and they attempt to replace what belongs to you with mediocrity. But God who owns the heavens, the God who rules the earth, the one who ordained your life will not allow what was designed for you to remain in the hands of thieves. The hour has come to confront these forces, to recover what was stolen, and to take back with interest everything that was delayed or hindered. Recovery requires authority, and authority requires understanding. You must understand that you are not a victim of circumstance. You are a child of destiny, created to rise, to conquer, and to carry influence. The moment you grasp that the spiritual theft that has occurred is not stronger than the authority residing within your spirit, the fire of recovery is ignited. The prayer that will recover what was stolen is not a casual whisper. It is a declaration that resonates in the heavens, that disrupts the plans of the enemy, and that enforces the transfer of every stolen blessing back into your possession. Every delay you have experienced, every unexplained setback, and every obstacle that seemed insurmountable is an opportunity to exercise dominion. The enemy thrives on passivity, on the acceptance of loss, and on silence in the face of theft. But when you rise in authority, when you decree in the Spirit, and when you pray with unwavering faith, the heavens respond, and what was stolen begins to return. Divine recovery is not gradual. It is sudden, strategic, and comprehensive. The fire of God moves in such a way that no stolen blessing remains hidden, no stolen opportunity remains in enemy hands, and no deception stands in the face of deliberate, focused prayer. Recovery also requires alignment. You cannot reclaim what was stolen if your heart, your mind, and your spirit are divided. There must be repentance for neglect, obedience to spiritual instruction, and a readiness to receive what the heavens are ready to restore. There must be focus, determination, and an understanding that divine restoration is not negotiable. What was stolen is not just for replacement, it is for multiplication. God does not only restore, He restores with increase, amplifying what was lost into a testimony that will silence every doubter and humble every opposing force. Many have lost sight of the reality of spiritual theft because they have been conditioned to accept delay, to accept limitation, and to accept mediocrity. But the hour demands vigilance. The enemy is strategic, but the authority within you is greater. You must rise to pray, to declare, and to enforce restoration. Every prophetic promise that has been intercepted, every vision that has been delayed, every financial, relational, or spiritual blessing that has been stolen will bow under the weight of your prayer, and recovery will take place. Recovery is not passive. It is not wishful thinking. It is an intentional engagement with the spiritual realm where the enemy has sought to defraud you. You must speak with precision, pray with power, and operate with authority. The prayers that recover what was stolen carry weight. They disrupt the plans of darkness and realign the natural with the supernatural. The heavens respond to intensity, focus, and faith-driven declarations. What has been stolen will not only be returned, but it will return with testimony, honor, and evidence of divine intervention. The hour of recovery is now. The time hath come to confront the forces that have attempted to steal your destiny, to dismantle the spiritual machinery that has facilitated theft, and to reclaim your inheritance with boldness. Every prayer must be armed with authority. Every declaration must be spoken with confidence. Every act of faith must demonstrate that what was taken will not remain lost, and that the fullness of your blessing is inevitable. You are not merely seeking replacement, you are enforcing restitution. The heavens are aligned with your recovery. The enemy trembles at your authority, and the fire of God will ensure that what was stolen returns multiplied, manifesting visibly in your life and testifying to the power and faithfulness of the one who ordained your destiny. There are words that have been spoken over your life, words that were never meant to define you, but have sought to limit, delay, and destroy the manifestation of your destiny. These are negative prophecies, declarations made in ignorance. Envy or malice, words spoken by those who do not understand the authority that resides in your spirit. They have been repeated, echoed, and amplified by circumstances and by agreement, and as a result, many have allowed them to shape their expectations, influence their decisions, and determine their future. But hear this: no word that is contrary to the will of God has the power to stand against the fire of divine intervention. Today is the day to shut the mouth of every negative prophecy, to nullify every declaration that contradicts your destiny, and to take authority over every word that has attempted to define your life. Negative prophecies operate on agreement. They find their power when they are believed, when they are tolerated, and when they are allowed to dictate thought patterns, but the authority in your spirit can break their hold. Every negative word spoken by those who meant you harm, every curse disguised as criticism, every demonic assignment that has used language to create limitation, all of these are vulnerable to the declaration of authority that comes from a spirit aligned with God. You are not a victim of words spoken in ignorance or rebellion. You are a vessel of destiny, and every word that contradicts divine purpose will be silenced by the fire of your faith. Understand this: negative prophecies have a spiritual weight. They manifest in delays, repeated failures, sicknesses, financial setbacks, relational struggles, and cycles of disappointment. Many have unknowingly carried the burden of words spoken years ago, believing that they are inevitable or permanent, but the heavens are always ready to intervene on behalf of those who refuse to accept limitation. The fire of God does not negotiate with prophecy that is contrary to His will. It consumes it. The moment you rise in authority, the moment you decree in faith, the weight of negative words begins to crumble, and their power over your life is neutralized. You must recognize that prophecy is not neutral. It can either build or destroy, empower or weaken, bless or curse. When words are used as weapons, they are designed to restrict divine purpose, but there is a higher authority that governs every declaration, the authority of the Spirit of God in you. When you operate in this authority, every word spoken against you, every prophetic curse, every malicious prediction, and every misinformed declaration is confronted. They bow or they are silenced. Your life cannot be dictated by words that contradict heaven's intention for you. Many have failed to confront negative prophecies because they have underestimated the authority within themselves. They have been passive, tolerant, or even afraid to challenge the power of spoken words, but the time for hesitation is over. Every prophecy that has sought to limit your rise, every prediction that has attempted to diminish your influence, every declaration that has worked against your purpose is subject to spiritual confrontation. When you rise to pray, when you declare with confidence, and when you exercise authority over your life, these words have no choice but to bow or disappear. There is a fire that rises when the spirit refuses to agree with limitation. This fire is not soft, it is not passive. It is decisive, forceful, and consuming. It nullifies the voice of opposition, silences the instruments of delay, and commands the heavens to align with your destiny. Every negative prophecy is met with a declaration. Every attempt to speak death over your life is met with life, and every word intended to destroy is countered with authority. Your destiny cannot coexist with prophecy that contradicts it. As you pray with authority, the heavens respond, the atmosphere shifts, and every word that has been spoken in opposition is rendered powerless. Shutting the mouth of negative prophecy requires focus, faith, and authority. It is not enough to hope or wish for change. There must be intentional confrontation. You must name the words, confront the spirits behind them, and decree restoration, blessing, and victory over every area that has been affected. The enemy may have tried to manipulate language, but the fire of God responds to deliberate engagement. What has been spoken over your life in ignorance or malice will be nullified, replaced with declarations that align with destiny and positioned to manifest with power. The time for tolerance is over. The time for silence is finished. Every negative prophecy that has been tolerated, believed, or repeated must be confronted with spiritual authority. When this is done, the heavens respond, the enemy retreats, and your life begins to operate under divine protection. Words that were meant to delay, destroy, or diminish are replaced with words that elevate, empower, and establish. The fire of God ensures that every prophecy contrary to your destiny will not survive the authority of your faith, and that every declaration aligned with heaven will manifest visibly, powerfully, and permanently. There is a realm beyond the physical where assignments are made, battles are waged, and destinies are either accelerated or delayed. In this realm, angels are not passive observers. They are strategic forces sent by the Most High to execute instruction, enforce decree, and protect what belongs to you. Every life has angelic reinforcement assigned to it, but many have failed to understand how to command them. Many operate as though the supernatural is a spectator sport, waiting for help instead of exercising authority over the forces sent to serve them. The hour has come to recognize your authority, to call upon the hosts of heaven with precision, and to command angelic reinforcement over your destiny with unwavering faith. Your destiny is too valuable to be left to chance. Every divine assignment, every blessing, every victory has a spiritual pattern that requires enforcement. Angels are the instruments through which God manifests His will in the natural, but they require direction from the authority in your spirit. You are not passive in this process. You are a commander. When you rise in intentional prayer, when you decree in alignment with heaven, you mobilize armies that were strategically assigned to your life. Every hindrance that has delayed your promotion, every opposition that has resisted your lifting, and every spiritual assault that has threatened your purpose can be neutralized through the deliberate command of angelic forces. Understand this: angels are not autonomous. They obey instructions from heaven and from those aligned with divine authority. When you pray with precision, when you speak with clarity, and when you decree with faith, angels respond instantaneously. They release the blessings, enforce protection, dismantle opposition, and execute justice on your behalf. They are the carriers of divine acceleration, and when commanded, they move faster than the natural mind can comprehend. What has been stalled for years, delayed by human limitation or spiritual opposition, can begin to manifest immediately when angelic forces are activated through your authority. Many have underestimated the strategic deployment of angels because they rely solely on human effort or natural methods. They pray casually, hoping for intervention, or they wait passively for circumstances to change. But divine acceleration requires more than hope. It requires command. Every angel assigned to your life is waiting for instruction. Every host ready to enforce decree is poised for action. And every spiritual reinforcement prepared to protect and elevate is awaiting your call. The heavens operate in response to alignment, and alignment comes through authority, clarity, and persistent, intentional engagement. Angelic reinforcement is not just about protection, it is about advancement. These are forces that can intercept accidents, dismantle spiritual traps, recover lost opportunities, and position you in divine favor. They move on your behalf to release what has been delayed, to confront the forces that oppose your rise, and to execute justice against assignments of stagnation and failure. Your destiny will not be fully realized while these forces remain uncommanded. The hour demands that you rise, recognize the authority within you, and mobilize angelic reinforcement to align with your purpose. Every obstacle in your life, whether spiritual, relational, financial, or emotional, can be neutralized by angels acting under your authority. They will clear pathways, secure divine opportunities, and ensure that no interference remains between you and the fulfillment of your assignment. The enemy may attempt to resist, but the host of heaven is greater, stronger, and faster. When you decree with precision, the spiritual battlefield shifts in your favor, and every assignment of opposition crumbles before the command of angelic forces. Faith is the key to commanding angels. The moment you believe in the presence, power, and strategy of these heavenly beings, you begin to operate in a dimension where limitations dissolve, where acceleration manifests, and where divine reinforcement becomes tangible. Angels respond not to doubt, but to authority, not to hesitation, but to bold declaration. When you understand that you are a commander of the heavenly host, the dynamics of your spiritual life change. What was previously delayed, threatened, or opposed begins to move according to the instructions you release in prayer. Many have missed divine acceleration because they failed to recognize their role in commanding reinforcement. They expect help to arrive on its own. They pray passively, and they wonder why obstacles remain. But the principle is clear. Angels operate in response to authority. They execute instructions from those aligned with purpose and destiny. When you rise to pray with boldness, when you decree with clarity, and when you engage in spiritual warfare with intentionality, you activate a level of supernatural support that guarantees acceleration, protection, and victory. Today, understand that the host of heaven is ready to move on your behalf. The strategies of delay, opposition, and stagnation are no match for the combined force of angels operating under your authority. Every blessing that has been postponed, every opportunity that has been intercepted, and every assignment that has been resisted is now within your reach. The time to command angelic reinforcement is now, and the results will manifest with speed, precision, and overwhelming evidence of divine intervention. Every battle you have fought, every struggle you have endured, and every opposition that has attempted to delay your destiny has been leading to this moment. The forces that have risen against you, whether in the natural or in the spirit, have been summoned to challenge your rise, but the hour has arrived for the final verdict. Today, the sentence is being delivered, and it declares that your battle ends now. Every strategy of delay, every assignment of stagnation, and every scheme of the enemy is powerless against the authority that resides within your spirit. The time has come to enforce closure, to declare completion, and to step into the fullness of your God-given assignment without compromise or interference. Many have grown weary in their battles because they believed the struggle would be endless. They have endured seasons of frustration, seasons of unanswered prayers, and moments when hope seemed distant. But the reality is that battles have a conclusion, and the conclusion is determined by the decree of the Spirit of God in your life. Every opposition, every obstruction, and every hindrance is subject to termination when divine authority is exercised today. The heavens are aligned to issue the final verdict, and the sentence is clear. Every force that has fought against your destiny must bow, retreat, and vanish. Your breakthrough is inevitable, and the chains that have bound you are no match for the decree of divine justice. This is not a time for hesitation, negotiation, or compromise. The battle is spiritual, and the victory is dependent upon authority, boldness, and unwavering faith. Every force that has tried to manipulate your progress is being confronted in this moment. The years of waiting, the seasons of stagnation, the moments of despair, all of these are being addressed by a higher power that refuses to tolerate delay. The verdict of this hour is absolute. Your battle ends today. Nothing in the spirit realm, in the natural, or in the unseen can resist the command of God executed through your faith, prayer, and declaration. Many have asked, why do some battles continue for so long? The answer is simple. The battle continues until the authority in your spirit rises to pronounce the verdict. Waiting without action, praying without authority, and hoping without engagement prolong the struggle, but today you are rising in decisive action. You are standing in the authority that the Spirit of God has given you. You are confronting every opposing force, and you are declaring that the season of frustration is over. The enemy may have planned delay, but your declaration activates acceleration. The enemy may have schemed stagnation, but your prayer enforces advancement. The enemy may have manipulated opposition, but your decree brings alignment with divine purpose. Understand this: battles are not merely confrontations, they are opportunities for destiny to manifest. They test faith, measure perseverance, and prepare the spirit for the reality of victory. But every test has a conclusion, and every opposition has a limit. Today is that limit. For your battles, the moment of finality is here. The hour demands a declaration of authority, a pronouncement of triumph, and a decree that binds the enemy and releases your breakthrough. Your prayers today are not ordinary. They are verdict, calling history, rewriting, and destiny, releasing every area of your life that has been under siege. Your health, your finances, your relationships, your career, your spiritual life is now subject to closure in the spirit. The forces that have delayed your promotion, resisted your elevation, and obstructed your purpose are being dismantled. Walls of limitation are crumbling, the doors of stagnation are swinging open, and the path to your breakthrough is illuminated. Your battle ends today because the authority in your spirit is being exercised with precision, power, and persistence. Nothing can resist what heaven has decreed, and nothing can survive what divine fire enforces. Victory is not just promised, it is mandatory. Every prayer that has been strategic, every declaration that has been faithful, and every act of obedience that has aligned with God's will is now producing results. The enemy may attempt to resist, but resistance is futile against a decree that carries the weight of heaven. The forces that have fought against your destiny are collapsing, and the heavens are moving to enforce what was promised. Today, the battle finds its end, the victory is secured, and the path to your destiny is uncontested. This final verdict is not symbolic. It is practical, tangible, and unstoppable. Manifestations of this decree will be seen in your life in ways that are undeniable. Delays will be reversed, losses will be recovered, opportunities will manifest, and blessings will overflow. Spiritual realm aligns with the natural. The promises of God begin to materialize, and the enemy is rendered powerless before the authority you now exercise. Every battle that has opposed your rise, every opposition that has sought to resist your purpose, every force that has delayed your destiny, today they are defeated. Today they bow. Today your breakthrough is enforced. The declaration is simple yet powerful. Your battle ends today. Nothing can continue in opposition to your destiny. No curse, no strategy, No assignment of stagnation can survive the authority you now wield. This is the moment where the heavens shift, where the spiritual scales tip in your favor, and where every opposition is irreversibly nullified. You are stepping into victory, promotion, and fulfillment. Because the final verdict has been pronounced, your battle ends today, and the forces that have resisted you are powerless to prevent the manifestation of your breakthrough.